The cosmic mix-up. Jack Thompson had always been told he could mess up a one-man parade. As the night custodian at the ultra-secret government facility known only as Area 52, his talent for catastrophe was both a curse and an odd source of job security. After all, who better to test the durability of top-secret tech than a man who could trip over his own shadow? On this particular Tuesday night, Jack whistled tunelessly as he pushed his mop bucket down the stark white corridor of Sector 7G. The flickering fluorescent lights cast an eerie glow on the linoleum floors, which Jack was determined to make shine like the top of the Chrysler Building. He had a reputation to uphold, even if that reputation mainly involved being the guy who once managed to tangle himself in his own mop. As he rounded the corner, his elbow caught on a protruding door handle. The mop flew from his hands, sailing through the air in a graceful arc that would have made Olympic javelin throwers weep with envy. Jack watched in horror as it soared towards a blinking console covered in more buttons than a disco suit. "No, no, no," he yelped, lunging forward in a desperate attempt to intercept the wayward cleaning implement. But Jack's feet, ever his betrayers, tangled in the mop bucket's wheels. He pitched forward, arms windmilling, and crash-landed face-first onto the console. For a moment, all was silent save for the whirring of mysterious machinery and the muffled groans of a man who was seriously reconsidering his career choices. Then, with a series of chirps and beeps that sounded suspiciously like electronic laughter, the console sprang to life. Lights flashed in dizzying patterns, dials spun like deranged roulette wheels, and from somewhere deep within the bowels of the machine came a sound that could only be described as a techno-bagpipe having an existential crisis. Jack peeled his face off the console, leaving behind a perfect imprint of his features in a mosaic of button indentations. "Oh, crud," he muttered, eyeing the machine warily. "I don't suppose you have an undo button." The console responded by projecting a holographic display that filled the room with swirling galaxies and pulsing nebulae. At the center of this cosmic light show, a message blinked in what Jack could only assume was the universe's most pretentious font. "ANNITEATING first contact protocial. Please stand by." Jack's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. "First contact, as in aliens?" He let out a hysterical giggle. "Oh boy, I'm so fired." But before Jack could fully appreciate the depths of his impending unemployment, a new voice filled the room. It was melodious yet oddly mechanical, like Siri's cooler, more sophisticated cousin. "Greetings, denizens of Earth. We are the Zoloxians, and we come in peace, we think. To be honest, we're a bit confused by your invitation." Jack's jaw dropped. Invitation." The voice continued, oblivious to Jack's bewilderment. "We must say, your method of communication is most unorthodox." The quantum-entangled interpretive dance sequence was particularly inspired, if a tad risque for our tastes. "Nevertheless, we are honored to accept your offer of cultural exchange and look forward to partaking in your planet's famous all-you-can-eat buffets and karaoke nights." Wait, Jack sputtered, waving his arms at the holographic display as if he could physically grab the alien's attention. "There's been a huge mistake. I didn't invite anyone. I'm just the janitor." There was a pause, during which Jack could have sworn he heard the cosmic equivalent of someone shuffling papers awkwardly. The Zoloxian voice finally responded. "A janitor. Yes, we've studied this concept. You are the keeper of cleanliness, the guardian of hygiene, the sultan of sanitation. Clearly, you are a being of great importance on your world." Jack blinked. What? No, you don't understand." But the alien was on a roll. "It all makes sense now. You were chosen as Earth's representative because of your intimate knowledge of your planet's every nook and cranny. Brilliant. We shall prepare our delegation immediately. Expect our arrival within one of your solar rotations. Oh, and do let us know if we should bring our own towels." With that, the holographic display winked out, leaving Jack alone in the suddenly too quiet room. He stared at the now dormant console, his mop lying forgotten on the floor beside him. "Well," he said to no one in particular, "I guess I'd better clock some overtime." As the reality of the situation began to sink in, Jack's mind raced through the potential consequences of his accidental interstellar faux pas. World leaders would be furious, scientists would be baffled, and somewhere out there, a race of aliens was preparing for the galaxy's most unexpected dinner party. Jack ran a hand through his disheveled hair, a hysterical laugh bubbling up from his chest. He, Jack Thompson, the man who once stapled his tie to his desk, had just inadvertently initiated humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and he'd done it all because he couldn't keep hold of a mop. "Mom always said I was special," he muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. With a deep breath, Jack squared his shoulders and did what any responsible adult would do in this situation. He decided to find someone else to blame. Surely, there was a night shift supervisor around here somewhere who could deal with impending alien invasions. It was probably in their job description, right between monitor security feeds and water the office plants. As Jack turned to leave the room, his foot caught on the handle of the mop bucket. He stumbled, arms pinwheeling, and crashed into a nearby filing cabinet. The impact sent a cascade of top-secret folders raining down around him, each one stamped with increasingly alarming warnings like classified, ultra classified, and so classified even they ein kein APOUTAT is to reason. Buried under a pile of national secrets, Jack let out a long-suffering sigh. "Yep," he grumbled, definitely clocking overtime for this one. Little did Jack know, his night was about to get a whole lot weirder. As he struggled to extricate himself from the papery avalanche, a soft blue glow began to emanate from the console. It pulsed gently, almost soothingly, like the world's most ominous nightlight. "Warning," chirped a cheerful robotic voice that sounded entirely too happy about the situation. "Quantum entanglement field detected. Prepare for spontaneous materialization in T-10 seconds." Jack's head snapped up, a look of pure panic spreading across his face. Spontaneous what now? 9, 8, 7. He scrambled to his feet, slipping on classified documents and nearly face-planting into the console again. "No, no, no. Whatever you're doing, stop it right now." 6, 5, 4. Jack's eyes darted around the room, searching for anything that might help him avert yet another crisis. His gaze landed on the mop, still lying innocently on the floor where it had started this whole mess. 3, 2. In a move that would have made action movie stars green with envy, or possibly just nauseous, Jack dove for the mop. His fingers closed around the handle just as the countdown reached its finale. 1. Materialization complete. Have a nice day. The room filled with a blinding flash of blue light. Jack squeezed his eyes shut, clutching the mop to his chest like a security blanket. When the spots finally cleared from his vision, he slowly opened one eye, then the other. Standing before him, looking equal parts confused and amused, was a being that could only be described as a cross between a jellyfish and a disco ball. Its translucent body pulsed with swirling colors, and what appeared to be tentacles swayed gently in a non-existent breeze. The alien, for what else could it be, regarded Jack with what he assumed were eyes, though they looked more like kaleidoscopes caught in a lava lamp. "Greetings, exalted janitor of Earth," the being said, its voice somehow managing to sound both bubbly and formal at the same time. "I am Zix 427 Delta, advanced scout of the Zaloxian delegation. I have come to ensure that all is in order for our grand arrival." Jack, still sprawled on the floor and clutching his mop, stared up at the alien with a mixture of awe and abject terror. A hysterical giggle escaped his lips before he could stop it. "Hi," he managed to squeak out. "I don't suppose you believe me if I said this was all a big misunderstanding." Zix 427 Delta's colors shifted to a pattern that reminded Jack of a tie-dye shirt he'd once owned in college. Misunderstanding. Oh, how delightfully mysterious. Is this part of the traditional Earth welcome? Should I pretend to be confused as well? Before Jack could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and the sound of running feet echoed down the corridors. "Oh," Jack muttered, climbing to his feet. He looked at the alien, then at the door, then back at the alien. Making a split-second decision that he was almost certainly going to regret, he grabbed Zix 427 deltas. Hand? Tentacle? Whatever it was, and tugged. "Come on," he said, surprising himself with his sudden decisiveness. "We need to get you out of here before." The door burst open, revealing a squad of heavily armed security personnel, all pointing very large, very scary-looking weapons directly at Jack and his new alien acquaintance. "That happens," Jack finished lamely. As the room erupted into chaos, with security shouting orders and Zix 427 Delta excitedly asking if this was Earth's famous laser tag game, Jack couldn't help but wonder if it was too late to go back to his old job at the car wash. One thing was certain: his life, and quite possibly the fate of human-alien relations, would never be the same again. And it all started with a wayward mop and a clumsy janitor who was about to become Earth's most unlikely ambassador to the stars. Alien invasion or dinner party. The next 24 hours were a blur of debriefings, interrogations, and increasingly awkward attempts to explain to various government officials that no, he hadn't meant to invite aliens to Earth, and yes, he was fully aware of how ridiculous that sounded. Jack sat in a sterile interrogation room, his mop confiscated. Apparently, it was now considered a device of interstellar communication, and therefore classified, facing a stern-looking woman in a crisp suit who introduced herself only as Agent K. "Let me get this straight, Mr. Thompson," Agent K said, pinching the bridge of her nose. "You accidentally activated our most advanced quantum communications array with a mop." Jack nodded sheepishly. In my defense, it was a really good mop. Agent K's eye twitched. "And in doing so, you not only made first contact with an alien species, but also inadvertently invited them to Earth for a dinner party." "Well, when you put it like that, it sounds kind of silly," Jack mumbled. Before Agent K could respond, likely with something scathing about the definition of silly, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Attention all personnel. Multiple unidentified objects entering Earth's atmosphere. This is not a drill." Repeat, "This is not a drill." Jack's stomach dropped. "Oh boy," he muttered. "I guess the Zoloxians are punctual." Agent K was already on her feet, barking orders into a comm device. She fixed Jack with a steely glare. "You're coming with me, Mr. Thompson. Since you started this mess, you're going to help us clean it up." As they rushed through the corridors of the facility, Jack couldn't help but appreciate the irony. He'd spent years cleaning up other people's messes, and now he was responsible for potentially the biggest mess in human history. They burst into a command center straight out of a sci-fi movie. Massive screens displayed satellite imagery of Earth, with dozens of blinking red dots approaching from all directions. "Status report," Agent K demanded. A frazzled-looking technician looked up from his console. "Ma'am, we're detecting over 50 alien vessels entering low Earth orbit. They're hailing us on all frequencies." "Put them through," Agent K ordered, her voice tense. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made Jack's jaw drop. The Zoloxian on the screen looked like a cross between a grand piano and a chandelier, with appendages that shimmered like fiber optic cables. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien's voice boomed, sounding oddly like a very enthusiastic game show host. "We have arrived for the grand cultural exchange, as invited by your esteemed janitor of Earth. We bring tidings of peace, exotic cuisines, and our finest karaoke performers." The command center erupted into chaos. Military officials shouted about defensive measures, scientists babbled excitedly about the implications of alien life, and someone in the back started stress-eating a family-sized bag of chips. Agent K turned to Jack, her expression a mixture of disbelief and resignation. "Mr. Thompson, it appears you're up." Jack gulped, straightening his janitor's uniform as he approached the comm system. "Ah, hello there," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "This is Jack Thompson, the, janitor of Earth. Welcome to our planet. We're very excited to have you here." The Zoloxian's appendages wiggled in what Jack hoped was a sign of happiness. "Excellent. We're thrilled to be here. Now, about those all-you-can-eat buffets you promised." As Jack fumbled through an explanation of Earth cuisine, carefully omitting any mention of seafood, given the Zoloxians' resemblance to various marine life, Agent K pulled him aside. "Mr. Thompson," she hissed, "I don't know how you've managed to turn a potential alien invasion into some sort of intergalactic potluck, but for now, we're going to roll with it. Your job is to keep these aliens happy and, more importantly, peaceful. Can you handle that?" Jack looked at the screen, where the Zoloxian was now enthusiastically describing something that sounded suspiciously like a recipe for nebula soup. He thought about all the messes he'd cleaned up over the years, all the chaos he'd somehow managed to set right. "Agent K," he said, straightening up and feeling, for the first time since this wild ride began, a sense of purpose. "Keeping things from falling apart is kind of my specialty." As if on cue, one of the technicians accidentally knocked over a massive stack of printouts, sending papers flying everywhere. Without missing a beat, Jack pulled out a miniature dustpan and brush from his pocket. A good janitor is always prepared, and began tidying up. Agent K raised an eyebrow. "I suppose we could do worse," she muttered. "All right, janitor of Earth, let's see what you can do." Over the next few hours, Jack found himself in the surreal position of coordinating Earth's first official alien welcoming committee. He liaised between panicked world leaders, overzealous scientists, and increasingly hungry Zoloxians. "No, Mr. President, I don't think offering them the entire state of Nevada as a landing zone is necessary," Jack explained patiently into one phone, while simultaneously using his free hand to scribble a note to the UN Secretary-General. "Need more vegetarian options for buffet. Aliens unsure about concept of meat." As night fell, the first Zoloxian ships began their descent, choosing to land, much to Jack's relief, in a series of large, empty fields rather than on top of major landmarks. The sight of the massive, shimmering vessels touching down was broadcast live across the globe. Millions watched with bated breath as the ship's doors opened, revealing the strange, beautiful forms of the Zoloxians. Jack stood at the forefront of the welcoming committee, flanked by Agent K and a hodgepodge of diplomats, scientists, and what appeared to be a very confused local catering team. As the Zoloxian leader glided down the ramp of their ship, Jack stepped forward, arms spread wide in what he hoped was a universal gesture of welcome. "On behalf of Earth," he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent field, "I bid you welcome. We're honored by your visit and look forward to a peaceful exchange of cultures, ideas, and recipes." The Zoloxian leader's body pulsed with a riot of colors. "Janitor of Earth," it said, its voice somehow conveying both formality and excitement, "we are overjoyed to be here. Your world is even more fascinating than we imagined. Tell us, is it true that you have entire buildings dedicated to the storage and distribution of circular dough covered in various toppings?" Jack blinked, then grinned as he realized what the alien was asking about. "You mean pizza parlors? Oh boy, do I have some good news for you." As Jack launched into an impromptu explanation of Earth's favorite foods, with the Zoloxians listening in rapt attention, Agent K leaned in close. "I don't know how," she whispered, "but you're actually pulling this off. Keep it up, and we might just avoid an interstellar incident." Jack nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. He might not have been the smartest, the strongest, or even the most coordinated human on Earth. But if there was one thing he knew, it was how to make people, and apparently aliens, feel welcome. As he continued his culinary diplomacy, Jack couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Here he was, a simple janitor, hosting the galaxy's biggest dinner party. And somehow, against all odds, it seemed to be working. Little did Jack know, this was just the beginning. The real challenges, and the true test of humanity's ingenuity and adaptability, were yet to come. But for now, as he watched Soluxians and humans cautiously beginning to mingle, Jack allowed himself a moment of pride. After all, it's not every day that a man with a mop saves the world. Cultural clash and culinary catastrophes. As the sun rose on the second day of the Soluxians' visit to Earth, Jack Thompson found himself in the middle of what could only be described as an interstellar food fight. Literally. "No, no," he shouted, ducking as a glob of what the Soluxians called star jelly whizzed past his head. "That's not how we eat spaghetti." The grand banquet hall, hastily set up in a converted aircraft hangar, was a scene of beautiful chaos. Soluxians, their bodies shimmering with excitement, were attempting to mimic human eating habits with hilariously mixed results. Some had tangled their tentacles in forks, while others were trying to absorb pizza directly through their translucent skin. Agent K sidled up to Jack, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. A piece of lettuce was stuck to her usually impeccable suit. "Thompson," she hissed, "this is a disaster. We need to get this under control before." Her words were cut off by a loud splat. They turned to see the Soluxian ambassador, a particularly large and luminous being, covered head to, well, let's say bottom, in spaghetti sauce. For a moment, everything went quiet. Jack held his breath, images of interstellar war flashing through his mind. Then, to everyone's surprise, the ambassador's body began to pulse with bright, cheerful colors. "Marvelous," it exclaimed. "Is this the famous Earth food fight we've heard so much about? What a delightful bonding ritual." And just like that, the tension broke. Humans and Soluxians alike burst into laughter, and the meal devolved into a joyous, messy free-for-all. As Jack helped a young Soluxian untangle itself from a particularly clingy strand of spaghetti, he couldn't help but smile. Sure, it wasn't the dignified first contact scenario the bigwigs had probably envisioned, but it was working. Barriers were breaking down, quite literally, in splatters of sauce and dollops of mashed potatoes. However, not everyone was thrilled with the turn of events. As the food fight wound down, Jack noticed a group of stern-faced military officials huddled in a corner, shooting disapproving glances at the messy scene. "Uh-oh," he muttered to Agent K. "I think we might have a problem." Agent K followed his gaze and frowned. "I'll handle this. You keep our guests entertained." As she strode off to smooth ruffled feathers, Jack turned back to the Soluxians, who were now eagerly asking about Earth's post-meal customs. "Well," Jack said, thinking quickly, "usually we clean up after ourselves." He gestured to the food-splattered walls and floor. "In fact, why don't I show you one of our most sacred Earth traditions, mopping?" The Soluxians' colorful bodies pulsed with excitement. "Mopping. Is this the revered practice that earned you the title of janitor of Earth?" Jack grinned. "That's right. Let me show you how it's done." For the next hour, Jack led an enthusiastic group of aliens in what had to be the galaxy's first interspecies cleaning party. The Soluxians, it turned out, had a natural talent for janitorial work. Their tentacle-like appendages could reach into the tightest corners, and their ability to change color came in handy for spotting stubborn stains. As they cleaned, Jack chatted with the Soluxians, learning more about their culture. They were a peaceful race, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the universe. Their society valued knowledge and harmony above all else, which explained their enthusiasm for this cultural exchange. "You know," one Soluxian said as it wrung out a mop with surprising dexterity, "we were quite nervous about coming to Earth. Our long-range scans showed so much conflict and division on your planet. But this is wonderful." Jack felt a warmth spread through his chest. Maybe, just maybe, his colossal mistake was turning into something beautiful. But the moment of peace was short-lived. Suddenly, Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and a voice came over the intercom. "Attention all personnel. Unidentified object approaching Earth at high velocity. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." The Xyloxian's colors shifted to worried hues of blue and purple. "What's happening?" they asked, their melodious voices tinged with fear. Before Jack could respond, Agent K burst into the room, her face grim. "Thompson," she barked, "we need you in the command center. Now." As they rushed through the corridors, Agent K filled him in. "We've detected another alien ship entering our solar system. It's not Xyloxian, and it's not responding to any of our hails." Jack's stomach dropped. "You don't think they're hostile to you?" Agent K's silence was answer enough. They entered the command center to find it buzzing with frantic activity. On the main screen, a sleek, predatory-looking ship was rapidly approaching Earth. The Xyloxian ambassador glided up to them, its colors a swirl of worried grays and blacks. "Oh no," it said, its usually cheerful voice somber. "We recognize that ship design. It belongs to the Vorgans, a warlike race from the other side of our galaxy. They must have followed us here." Jack looked from the approaching ship to the worried faces around him. Humans and Xyloxians alike were watching him, waiting for the janitor of Earth to somehow clean up this mess too. He took a deep breath. "Okay," he said, surprising himself with the steadiness in his voice. "What do we know about these Vorgans? And more importantly, how do we stop them?" The Xyloxian ambassador's colors shifted to a determined blue. The Vorgans respect strength above all else. They see peaceful races like ours as easy targets for conquest. But perhaps it paused, looking at Jack with what he assumed was the Xyloxian equivalent of a thoughtful expression. "Perhaps we can use their assumptions against them." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" As the ambassador explained its plan, Jack felt a mix of excitement and terror. It was crazy, potentially disastrous, and relied heavily on his ability to bluff. In other words, it was perfectly in line with how the last couple of days had gone. "All right," Jack said, straightening his sauce-stained janitor's uniform. "Let's do this. But first, I'm going to need my mop back." Agent K looked at him like he'd grown a second head. "Your mop? What could you possibly need that for at a time like this?" Jack grinned, a plan forming in his mind. "Trust me, Agent K, if we're going to convince a warlike alien race that Earth is not to be messed with, we're going to need every weapon at our disposal, even the unconventional ones." As the command center burst into action, preparing for their audacious plan, Jack couldn't help but marvel at the bizarre turn his life had taken. A few days ago, his biggest concern had been making sure the floors in Sector 7G were spotless. Now, he was Earth's front line of defense against an alien invasion. He looked down at his name-tag, still proudly displaying Jack Thompson, Custodial Services, and chuckled. Who would have thought that the skills needed to keep a top-secret facility clean would come in handy for saving the planet? As the Vorgan ship drew ever closer, Jack steeled himself for what was to come. It was time for the janitor of Earth to face his biggest mess yet, and this time, the fate of two species hung in the balance. Little did the approaching Vorgans know, they were about to face the most unconventional welcome committee in galactic history. Led by a man armed with nothing but a mop, a quick wit, and a newfound interstellar alliance. The stage was set for a showdown that would go down in Earth's history books, assuming, of course, that Earth survived long enough to write those books. The galactic gala gone wrong. As the Vorgan ship entered Earth's orbit, tension in the command center reached a fever pitch. Jack stood at the forefront, his trusty mop in hand, flanked by Agent K and the Xyloxian ambassador. The plan was simple in theory, but incredibly risky in execution. "Are you sure about this, Thompson?" Agent K whispered, her usual stoic demeanor cracking slightly to reveal genuine concern. Jack nodded, trying to project more confidence than he felt. "No," he admitted, "but it's the best shot we've got." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the Vorgan leader. To Jack's surprise, the alien looked less like the terrifying warlord he'd imagined and more like an angry bodybuilder who'd been dipped in metallic paint. Its skin was a shimmering bronze, with what appeared to be natural armor plating covering vital areas. "Puny earthlings," the Vorgan leader boomed, its voice like gravel in a blender. "We have come to claim your world as our own. Surrender now, and we may spare some of you as our servants." Jack stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Greetings, mighty Vorgans," he said, silently thanking his high school drama teacher for those improv classes. "We've been expecting you." The Vorgan leader's brow furrowed in confusion. "You, what?" "Oh yes," Jack continued, warming to his role. "We received your RSVP for the Grand Galactic Gala. You're just in time. Though I must say, your fashion choice is a bit aggressive for a black tie event." The Vorgan's confusion quickly turned to anger. "What nonsense is this? We are here to conquer, not to attend your pathetic parties." Jack tusked, shaking his head. Now, there's no need for that kind of talk. We've gone to a lot of trouble to prepare for your arrival. In fact, we have a special welcoming ceremony planned just for you." Before the Vorgan could respond, Jack nodded to the technicians. Suddenly, the Earth's most powerful radio telescopes began broadcasting a cacophony of sounds into space, a mixture of Earth's greatest hits, Xyloxian harmonic frequencies, and at Jack's insistence, the catchiest commercial jingles he could remember. The Vorgan leader's eyes widened in shock as its ship was bombarded with everything from Beethoven to the Baby Shark song. "What is this madness?" it roared. Jack grinned. "This, my fine Vorgan friend, is Earth's famous noise cannon. Impressive, isn't it? And that's just a taste of our planet's defenses. Why, we haven't even shown you our mop of doom yet." He brandished his cleaning tool like a sacred weapon. The Vorgan's expression flickered between rage and bewilderment. "You dare to mock us with cleaning instruments?" "Mock you?" Jack gasped in feigned offense. "Not at all. The mop of doom is one of Earth's most closely guarded secrets. One swipe, and it can clean entire civilizations from existence. Why do you think we invited the Xyloxians here? We're teaching them how to make their own." At this, the Xyloxian ambassador floated forward, its tentacles wrapped around a mop of its own. It had clearly been taking improv lessons from Jack. "Oh yes," it chimed in, its colors pulsing with fake menace. "Earth's cleaning technology is far beyond anything we've ever seen. We came here thinking we might need to protect this planet, but now we see that we're the ones who need protection." The Vorgan leader's eyes darted between Jack, the Xyloxian, and the mops they were wielding like mystical staffs. For a moment, doubt clouded its metallic features. But then its eyes narrowed. "Enough of this foolishness. We are the Vorgans, conquerors of 1,000 worlds. We will not be deterred by janitors and their ridiculous claims." Jack's heart sank. The bluff had failed. He exchanged a worried glance with Agent K, who was already barking orders to prepare Earth's actual, and far less impressive, defenses. Just as all hope seemed lost, fate decided to throw Jack another curveball, this time in his favor. One of the junior technicians, overcome by the stress of the situation, accidentally spilled his extra-large, triple-shot espresso all over his console. The resulting short circuit sent a massive power surge through the facility's systems. Suddenly, every screen in the command center began displaying random images and videos, cat memes, dance tutorials, clips from reality TV shows, and bizarrely, a documentary about the mating habits of sea slugs. The Vorgan leader watched in stunned silence as Earth's entire digital history seemed to flash before its eyes. Is this more of your weaponry?" it asked, its voice tinged with uncertainty. Jack, quick on his feet, seized the opportunity. "That's right," he declared, silently blessing the clumsy technician. "Behold the awesome power of Earth's cultural cannon. With this, we can overwhelm any alien mind with the full force of human creativity and cat videos. Resistance is futile." The Vorgan leader's composure finally cracked. "Enough. We must reconsider our approach. Clearly, Earth is more formidable than we anticipated. Perhaps a diplomatic solution would be more appropriate. Jack could hardly believe his ears. He glanced at Agent K, who gave him a subtle nod of approval. Well, Jack said, trying to keep the relief out of his voice, we would certainly be open to diplomatic discussions. After all, that's why we're hosting the Grand Galactic Gala. Why don't you join us? I hear the catering is out of this world. He winked at the camera. The Vorgan leader, still visibly shaken by Earth's display of power, grudgingly agreed. Very well. We will attend this gala of yours. But be warned, janitor of Earth, we will be watching closely. As the transmission ended, the command center erupted into cheers. Humans and Xyloxians alike were hugging, high-fiving, and in the case of some Xyloxians, changing colors so rapidly it looked like a disco ball had exploded. Agent K approached Jack, an actual smile on her face. I can't believe that worked, she said, shaking her head in amazement. Thompson, you might just be the most brilliant idiot I've ever met. Jack grinned, leaning on his mop. Thanks, I think. But we're not out of the woods yet. Now we actually have to host this galactic gala and somehow keep the Vorgans from realizing it was all a bluff. The Xyloxian ambassador floated over, its colors a swirl of excited pinks and purples. Fear not, janitor of Earth. We Xyloxians are experts at party planning. With our skills combined, this shall be a gala to remember. As the command center transformed into an impromptu party planning committee, Jack couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Here he was, a simple janitor, now responsible for hosting a party that might determine the fate of Earth. He looked down at his mop, the unlikely hero of the day, and smiled. Well, old friend, he muttered, looks like we've got one more mess to clean up. Let's make it shine. Little did Jack know, the real challenge was yet to come. For as the humans and their new alien allies prepared for the grandest interstellar soiree in Earth's history, dark forces were gathering. Forces that would put Jack's quick wit, the Xyloxians' party planning skills, and humanity's penchant for chaos to the ultimate test. The stage was set for a night that would go down in galactic history, either as the dawn of a new era of interstellar cooperation, or as the last party Earth ever hosted. And at the center of it all, armed with nothing but a mop and a can-do attitude, stood Jack Thompson, the improbable savior of humanity. Humanity's unlikely hero. The Grand Galactic Gala was in full swing, transforming the once sterile government facility into a dazzling spectacle of interstellar proportions. Humans mingled with Xyloxians, their laughter echoing through holographic star fields projected onto the walls. Even the Vorgans, despite their initial hostility, seemed to be enjoying themselves, particularly at the buffet table where they were enthusiastically arm-wrestling volunteers for the last slice of pizza. Jack stood in a corner, nursing a glass of what the Xyloxians called nebula nectar. It tasted like a cross between grape soda and static electricity. He watched the festivities with a mixture of pride and disbelief. Somehow, against all odds, his harebrained scheme was working. Quite a party, eh, Thompson? Agent K appeared beside him, looking uncharacteristically relaxed in a shimmering dress that seemed to change color with her movements. Jack nodded, grinning. Who knew saving the world could be so much fun? But as he scanned the room, something caught his eye. A group of Vorgans huddled in a corner, speaking in hushed tones and casting furtive glances around the room. One of them was fiddling with a small device that looked suspiciously like a weapon. Jack's smile faded. Ah, Agent K, I think we might have a problem. Before he could elaborate, the lights suddenly dimmed. A hush fell over the crowd as a spotlight illuminated the stage. The Xyloxian ambassador floated to the center, its body pulsing with excited colors. Esteemed guests, it announced, its voice reverberating through the hall, it is time for the highlight of our gala, the intergalactic karaoke contest. The crowd erupted in cheers, and in the case of some Vorgans, confused grunts. Jack, however, kept his eyes on the suspicious group in the corner. They were moving now, spreading out around the edges of the room. Agent K, Jack whispered urgently, "I think the Vorgans are up to something. We need tow." His words were cut short by a deafening explosion. The far wall of the hall crumbled, revealing a massive Vorgan warship hovering just outside. Panic erupted as guests scrambled for cover. The Vorgan leader stepped through the rubble, flanked by heavily armed soldiers. "Fools," it bellowed, its voice cutting through the chaos. "Did you really think we would fall for your pathetic ruse? We are the Vorgans, and we will not be deceived by janitors and their mops." Jack's mind raced. The situation was spiraling out of control, and he was fresh out of clever plans. But as he looked around at the terrified faces of humans and aliens alike, he knew he had to do something. Taking a deep breath, Jack stepped forward, his trusty mop in hand. "Now hold on just a minute," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "There's no need for violence. We were all having such a nice time. Why don't we talk about this over some more of that delicious nebula nectar?" The Vorgan leader's eyes narrowed. "Silence, human. Your tricks won't work on us again. We will take this planet, and there's nothing you or your ridiculous cleaning tool can do about it." As if on cue, one of the Vorgan soldiers fired its weapon at Jack. Time seemed to slow down. Jack closed his eyes, bracing for impact. But instead of searing pain, he felt nothing. He'd opened his eyes to find his mop glowing with an otherworldly light, a shimmering force field surrounding him. The Vorgan's energy blast had been completely absorbed. Silence fell over the room. Everyone, human and alien alike, stared at Jack in awe. The Xyloxian ambassador was the first to break the silence. "By the cosmic cause," it gasped, its colors shifting rapidly in excitement. The legends were true. The celestial cleanser lies. Jack blinked in confusion. The what now? The ambassador quickly explained. "There is an ancient prophecy among our people, speaking of a humble cleaner who would unite the galaxies and bring peace to the cosmos. We thought it was just a myth, but it's you, janitor of Earth. You are the celestial cleanser." The Vorgan leader scoffed, but Jack could see uncertainty in its eyes. Preposterous. No mere janitor could possess such power. But Jack was no longer listening. As he held the glowing mop, he felt a surge of something. Knowledge, power, or maybe just really good cleaning tips. He wasn't sure, but he knew what he had to do. With newfound confidence, Jack stepped forward. "Listen up, everyone. I may not understand what's happening here, but I do know one thing. We're all making a big mess, and it's time to clean it up." He raised the mop high, and to everyone's amazement, it began to pulse with energy. Beams of light shot out, enveloping Vorgans, Xyloxians, and humans alike. But instead of harming them, it seemed to be cleaning them. Literal dirt and grime vanished, yes, but something else was happening too. The Vorgans' aggressive expressions softened, the fear left the humans' eyes, and the Xyloxians glowed with renewed vigor. What is this feeling?" the Vorgan leader asked, its voice filled with wonder rather than anger. Jack smiled. "I think it's called harmony, and a little elbow grease." As the light faded, the mood in the room had completely transformed. Vorgans were helping Xyloxians to their feet, humans were offering comfort to shaken aliens, and there was a palpable sense of unity in the air. The Vorgan leader approached Jack, its metallic features softened with something that might have been respect. "Celestial cleanser," it said, bowing slightly. I have made a grave error. Can you forgive us?" Jack leaned on his mop, grinning. "Well, that depends. How are you guys at mopping floors?" And just like that, the grand galactic gala transformed into something far greater, the birth of a new era of interstellar cooperation. Vorgans worked alongside humans to repair the damage from their attack. Xyloxians taught their new friends the art of color-based emotional expression, and at the center of it all was Jack, offering cleaning tips and words of encouragement in equal measure. As the night wore on, Agent K sidled up to Jack. So, celestial cleanser, she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. What's next on the cosmic agenda? Jack looked out at the diverse crowd, all working together in harmony, and smiled. Well, he said, twirling his mop like a cosmic staff, I reckon the universe could use a good spring cleaning. And who better to do it than Earth's top janitor? As laughter and music filled the air, Jack couldn't help but marvel at the strange turn his life had taken. From a simple cleaner to the savior of Earth, and now, apparently, the prophesied uniter of galaxies, it was a lot to take in. But as he watched humans, Soluxians, and Vorgans joining together in an enthusiastic, if slightly off-key, rendition of We Are the Champions, Jack knew one thing for certain: the universe was about to become a much cleaner and far more interesting place. Little did he know, his greatest adventure was just beginning. For as news of the celestial cleanser spread across the cosmos, beings from every corner of the galaxy would soon be clamoring for a visit from Earth's most famous janitor. And Jack Thompson, armed with his trusty mop and unshakable spirit, was ready to face whatever the universe had in store. After all, when it comes to cleaning up intergalactic messes, sometimes the most unlikely hero is exactly what's needed. A new era of cosmic cooperation. 1 year after the events of the Grand Galactic Gala, Earth had become the unlikeliest hub of interstellar activity in the known universe. The once secret government facility that had hosted humanity's first alien encounters was now a sprawling complex known as the Cosmic Cooperation Center, or CCC for short. Jack Thompson, now officially known as the Celestial Cleanser, though he still insisted on keeping janitor on his namtek, stood at the large observation window of his new office. He watched as ships from a dozen different alien races docked at the newly constructed spaceport, their designs as varied as the beings who piloted them. You know, he said to Agent K, who was reviewing reports at a nearby desk, a year ago, my biggest worry was making sure the supply closet was properly stocked. Now I'm helping negotiate trade agreements between civilizations older than our entire species. Agent K looked up, a rare smile on her face, and doing a surprisingly good job at it, I might add. Though I still can't believe you settled that dispute between the Soluxians and the Vorgans with a galaxy-wide cleaning competition. Jack grinned, patting his trusty mop. Never underestimate the power of a shared chore. Nothing brings people, or aliens, together like a little elbow grease. Their conversation was interrupted by a chime from the comm system. Celestial Cleanser, a voice announced. The Galactic Council is assembled and ready for your address. Jack took a deep breath, straightening his new uniform, a sleek, silvery jumpsuit with Cosmic Custodial Services emblazoned on the back. Well, he said to Agent K, duty calls. Wish me luck. As if you need it, she replied with a smirk. Go get him, janitor of Earth. As Jack made his way to the Grand Assembly Hall, he marveled at how much had changed in just 1 year. The revelation of his status as the Celestial Cleanser had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Some hailed it as the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy, while others saw it as proof that the universe had a sense of humor. Either way, it had thrust Earth into the spotlight of cosmic politics, and Jack, with his down-to-earth wisdom and knack for simplifying complex issues, had become an unlikely but effective mediator in interstellar affairs. The assembly hall doors slid open, revealing a sea of alien faces and other sensory appendages, all turned expectantly towards him. Jack approached the podium, his mop-term staff glowing softly at his side. Friends, neighbors, beings of all star systems, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the universal translators. A year ago, we gathered here on Earth as strangers, some of us even as enemies. Today, we come together as partners in the greatest cleaning job the universe has ever seen. A ripple of appreciative murmurs, and in the case of some gaseous species, fragrant bubbles, passed through the crowd. We've made incredible progress, Jack continued. The Intergalactic Waste Management Initiative has reduced space junk by 50%. Our cultural exchange programs have led to breakthroughs in art, science, and really weird but delicious fusion cuisine. He paused, his expression growing serious. But we still have work to do. There are still conflicts to resolve, misunderstandings to clear up, and let's face it, some really messy corners of the galaxy that could use a good scrubbing. Jack raised his mop, which began to glow more brightly. That's why I'm proposing the formation of the Cosmic Cleansing Corps, a group of dedicated individuals from all our worlds working together to tidy up the universe, literally and figuratively. The assembly hall erupted in cheers, and various alien equivalents of cheering, including some rather alarming screeches from the Vorgan delegation. As Jack outlined his plan for this new interstellar peacekeeping force, he couldn't help but reflect on the strange journey that had brought him here. From a simple night janitor to the linchpin of galactic diplomacy, it was almost too bizarre to believe. Yet here he was, using the skills he'd honed scrubbing floors and mediating disputes between cranky night shift workers to help shape the future of the cosmos. As the meeting concluded and Jack made his way back to his office, he was intercepted by Zix 427 Delta, the Zoloxian who had been the first to materialize in that fateful lab a year ago. Celestial Cleanser, Zix bubbled excitedly, its colors a whirl of happy hues. Your speech was most inspiring. I have a question, if I may. Of course, Zix, Jack replied warmly. And please call me Jack. We've known each other long enough. Very well, Jack, Zix said, its colors shifting to a curious blue. I was wondering, with all these grand cosmic responsibilities, do you ever miss your old job? The simplicity of it. Jack chuckled, leaning on his mop. You know, Zix, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and I've realized something important. He gestured around at the bustling Cosmic Cooperation Center. All of this, the diplomacy, the peacekeeping, the interstellar negotiations, it's not really that different from my old job. Zix's colors swirled in confusion. How so? Well, Jack explained, being a good janitor was never just about cleaning things up. It was about maintaining harmony, solving problems before they got big, and making sure everyone had what they needed to do their best work. He smiled, patting his mop affectionately. In a way, I'm still doing the same job. The scale's just a bit bigger, and the messes are a lot more interesting. Zix's body pulsed with understanding. I see. So in becoming the Celestial Cleanser, you didn't really change your role. You just expanded your cleaning closet to include the entire universe. Jack laughed. That's one way of putting it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a nebula that needs dusting. As Jack headed off to his next cosmic appointment, he felt a surge of contentment. The universe was vast, complex, and often chaotic. But with a little effort, a lot of cooperation, and the occasional swish of a mystical mop, it was slowly but surely becoming a cleaner, brighter place. And Jack Thompson, the janitor of Earth turned Celestial Cleanser, was right where he belonged, at the heart of it all, armed with a mop and ready to tackle whatever mess the cosmos could throw his way. As he stepped into his office, already reviewing reports of a potential dust-up, literally, in the Andromeda Galaxy, Jack grinned to himself. You know, he muttered, I really should ask for a raise. The end.